fill me in on what's going on with the Idaho killer case.
So it's what's his name? Give me a second. I'm trying to remember his name. His name is Coburg. So Coburg got extradited from, was it Pennsylvania, where his family lives? See, that's where he got arrested. So everyone gave the police so much flack for not, nailing the killer really quickly and all that stuff. And I work in technology, so I know how it works. They have to check plates, they have to correlate a story, and before you could even present a case, you have meaning get an affidavit for a warrant and all this stuff. You have to have probable cause and evidence. You can't just go in there and say, we think this is the person, it matches the blah, blah, blah. You have to meticulously lay it out. And so before you arrest someone, you kind of also want to watch someone, right? You want to watch them at their house. You want to see what they're doing, how they're acting. Maybe it adds more to the case for evidence, right? So I wouldn't say waited, but they knew that from what I heard multiple sources, that when he traveled across the country with his dad to go home, which is normal to go home for the holidays, drive across country, flights are cheap, but that family doesn't have much money, so they're actually pretty poor. From what I read, the father and mother had like $500 in their savings, right? When they checked recently. So they really don't have much. And so they were driving him across country. He went to, I want to say, somewhere in Washington for school, and he was a criminology major. Don't quote me on that term, but he was studying criminology. And so when he went home, I had heard that the FBI asked, was Indiana State Patrol, some of the police departments there, to pull him over to see his hand. They wanted to see what I'm assuming is a scar from the knife, where if you're attacking someone, you're going to have a clean. And so on his wrist in the video, or in the video frames, you can see that it looks to seem like he clearly has a cut on his wrist, which is very thin and sharp. And so, what they're assuming, or what they're hypothesizing is that the victims in the house were trying to fight back. Some of them, one or two of the girls, were really fighting back. And so he probably had some sort of damage to himself. And I'm assuming that's why they wanted the FBI wanted the state troopers to pull over Horberg, whatever his name is. Actually, we shouldn't even be talking about his name, because it's not right. To see what damage he had to himself, and to see if that was the right person. And sounds like they got it right. I watched the pretrial, or it was definitely not sentencing. It was the when you work up to the trial, you have like court appearances and stuff like that. And I saw the first one, and I think the evidence stacked against him. And I listened to a couple of lawyers' podcasts speak about the affidavit that was released, for the pretrial. And from what I'm reading, it sounds like, especially his DNA on the sheath of the weapon that was used to kill the girl in the bed, and it's sitting right there in the bed to her right, if you're looking through the doors, is what I read. The DNA is on that weapon, and that weapon, they correlated the DNA back to him. So it's like, the question is then, why would you leave a sheath of a K-bar knife, a military grade K-bar knife? U.S. Marine Corps uses it. It's their standard issue weapon. Why would you use that? Or why would you have a sheath of that next to a victim that just died from a knife wound? So it's almost, he studies criminology, and it makes me a little curious as to, did he study this? Did he want to plan out a perfect murder? Right. So he was post-grad, studying criminology and whatever. Did he want to plan out the perfect murder of 4 people, and then to study it? And then also, why would you make a stupid mistake like that? Like leave the sheath of the knife. I mean, I don't know. I have never murdered someone, but if I go into a house to murder someone, I'm not just going to bring a sheath with me. I probably just have the knife out, right? In case you walk through the door and someone attacks you. Like, I'm just thinking in terms of a perpetrator, but it was pretty interesting to see that he left his sheath of his knife on the bed of the murder victim. And so I wouldn't say it's a slam dunk case, but I don't think this is going to be appealed or anything like that. And they have no bond for him because, well, the prosecutors said that he was arrested in Pennsylvania, which is thousands of miles away from the scene, which makes sense. That's an easy way to try and get bond denial. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. But I mean, he's accused of 4 murders. What I thought was interesting is they actually accused him of burglary first, and then burglary with the intent to kill. So he had staked out the house apparently less than a half a dozen times over a certain amount of 4-day period or whatever. So he was constantly driving by the house. I don't think anybody is happy to know why, but I think people would love to know what the motive is. What was the reason for him stalking this house and these people? But yeah, it was really interesting to see that, he continuously followed them, pretty much stalked them, to commit this murder. And so I don't know how he did it with the biggest puzzle piece to me is MD. I can't remember who that is, a female or a male survivor that was, I think, in the basement at the time. But apparently they walked up the stairs or whatever to see what was going on because they heard a girl scream, and then they heard a man say, "It's okay, I'll take care of you," or something along those lines, which is creepy and gets at your skin. What he meant by that, relieve you from this world, it could have been a TikTok video. We don't know where that audio came from, but there was audio next door. The house next door had a camera that had audio, and it recorded a lot of audio. I don't think they released everything yet, but yeah, one of the roommates saw the killer walk right by. I think it was her. I don't want to say names because the less you say names of the victims that survived, the less attention they have that they don't want. So, but yeah, walked right by. Said he had bushy eyebrows. He had a mask on with the eyes being able to be seen, and I just don't understand why they didn't call 911 at that moment. But you know what? None of us are victims of murders. I mean, hopefully nobody watching or listening is a victim of a murder and seen it and a survivor. But I personally, if someone was in the house, I would grab my gun. I like to think that. I mean, I don't know in the heat of the moment, but I would like to think I'd grab my gun, or I would call 911, or both. And so that's the only perplexing thing out of the whole case that really confuses me a little bit, is why police were called at 11:30 or 11 or noon, somewhere between there, when the crime happened at 12 or 4:15 ish, and none of the roommates called 911. That's the one thing I want to know. And maybe they hate themselves for not calling 911 that early, but I just don't understand why not.
Yeah, the only thing that I heard was they caught him cleaning his car meticulously. Was that when he was on bail? Is he on bail?
He could not have bail. No, they denied it.
Okay.
I mean,
So when did they catch him cleaning his car? Was that before they actually just caught him? He was just cleaning his car?
I didn't hear anything about him cleaning his car, but he was at his parents' house for the holidays, and they arrested him at like 3:00 in the morning. Guns drawn, SWAT team. So
yeah, you mentioned the perfect murder.
They had geographically followed him across America, basically, to get to Pennsylvania again, I guess, right? To his parents' house. So.
You mentioned the perfect murder, and the only perfect murder that I can think of is the O.J. Simpson murder. That was the perfect murder.
I'll tell you,
man. OJ planned that out meticulously.